The King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents the Broadcasters Podcast. Here is the King of Podcasts.
And welcome to episode 282 of the Broadcasters Podcast. This is broadcasterspodcast.com, and I am the King of Podcasts, as mentioned by the announcer fella. Thanks for listening in, finding the show. If you haven't done so, please rate and review Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I could really use the help. So if you love this show and you listen to it every week, please do that. It would really make a whole lot of help. It really makes something for the show to really build it up. And thank you for listening in every week. I really appreciate it. We're going to talk about the media this week because we're 6 months in, and I've had taken some time in previous shows to talk about job cuts. And especially during COVID, I was around doing this show talking about the number of job cuts that were going on. Obviously, the inflation right now is not helping matters at all. But who would have thought that things would have gotten so bad that the kind of cutting of the media is worse than COVID times? I mean, that's amazing to even fathom that, but that's where we are right now. And that is because of a number of things. The digital disruption that I constantly talk about in this program is continuing to go ahead and rear its head across everything. And we go across, and honestly, every week I do this show, we always have to talk about something with the media. This corporate traditional media continues to get torn apart, whether it's cable cord cutting, whether it's the streamers overtaking the network and cable, right? And then you look at music, AI technology now, and TikTok and Instagram and all these other places that are just taking over the virality of music and making radio about obsolete. And the same thing goes with music itself. The record labels being antiquated in their way of still trying to go ahead and put artists out there and try to do something with what they're doing. I mean, the artists can't make any money right now with all this. Radio people being cut, and then, the delusion of radio, the delusion of corporate people up top that are running these companies when they have a traditional media arm that is struggling right now. And then they have the route of, what the internet provides. Movies doing the same thing, which is why, when I look at the amount of movies I've watched this year, somebody put out, there's a wrestling podcaster. He's a writer and a podcaster, and I noticed something he put on Twitter talking about, like, he's looked at about 15 movies this year himself. He's clocked it on at the movie theater and saying these are all movies for little kids. Because it kind of is, right? It's all fantasy. It's all pretty much anything that was in a comic book or something like that. I might be a little more diverse in what I'm watching in the movies, but still, it's a lot of direction that really people don't understand. And the one thing is that with the movie theaters, at least those movies are bringing in younger audiences. Let's just put it like that. Because what other media is doing that? I mean, the media for music, when it comes to it, they're watching the internet. They're following what the internet's doing, the streaming, the YouTube videos, all of that. And then television, I feel like they're not even paying attention. Live sports, maybe. Tonight I was watching, and I passed by NBC Network, and my local channel is running the U.S. Open. I'm like, of golf. Like, wow. You see, that'd be a golf channel thing, you would think, right? But yeah, U.S. Open Championship. And they put it in prime time. Not the first time. But when you have things like this, where do the networks need to start running sports on prime time now because there's nothing else to run? And now the strike, we have to talk about that too. And what it's doing now is we're now 45 days into the strike. And now we're seeing a real dent and some damage being done right now. Award shows are going to get, probably be pushed back or canceled. We're starting to see now the networks and the cable companies struggling right now, scrambling to find out what they're going to do with their content, because the plan they had for pilots or for other shows to start up, they're not going to be able to do it. So now the networks have to figure out what's next for them. Meanwhile, those writers still have solidarity for the other labor unions to continue forward. Sure, the directors are going to sign a deal, right? That was the plan. But no matter what, it doesn't matter. The writers are going to still keep doing what they're doing, justifiably, right? They got to keep doing that. What else can you do? So more is going on, and there's no answer to any of this. So that's going to be an issue. But like I said, media is still thriving in some areas. Look, I just saw right now that for Thursday night, the projection right now for The Flash coming out the movie theaters is $9 million. I don't know what the full brunt of what they're supposed to be getting altogether, but right now we have critics scoring on Rotten Tomatoes 67% fresh, audiences 88%. So it's doing pretty well. Now, I don't know what they have to project. Oh, the projected weekend outlook is $75 million, which could very well happen. That's pretty big for them. And that's not bad. So either which way, got that to watch this weekend, among other things. So let's go and move along now into the story of the day when it comes to media. It's this. But like I said, there's a couple of things we're going to talk about specifically in three tranches, right? This media job massacre right now, the writer's strike, and what it's doing to network and streaming, and Twitter getting in trouble with the music industry, Universal Music making a deal with SoundCloud to help pay artists more. I mean, look, there's a lot of things moving around, a lot of moving pieces. We're going to talk all about that right here. Let's get into it right now with, first of all, Axios reports on media job cuts. And so far this year, a new report from Challenger, Gray, and Christmas. This firm actually announced that there's been so far, as of this recording, over 17,400 jobs cut. The highest year-to-date level of cuts on record. And that's more than 2020 when there were 16,750 job cuts that were announced through May. News industry is facing huge constraints due to a slowdown on ad market. Broadcast, digital print news outlets have collectively announced almost 2,000 job cuts so far this year, surpassing 1,800 of all of 2022. And here are some of the job cuts that are coming out right now from these big media sources that bought the big corporate media that bought these websites, bought blogs, bought some other internet entities thinking they were going to make money off of them. The Athletic is announcing it's roughly laying off 20 people or 4% of their journalists. .LA laying off all 7 of their editorial staffers. LA Times cutting 74 people in their newsroom. The Morning Consult, which is a polling service, they're cutting its newsroom and laying off 7 staffers. And there's union conflicts coming up here, pressure of media bosses. The Washington Post publisher Fred Ryan, who's a longtime media executive and political advisor, he will be leaving his position as publisher. And the Washington Post, on top of that, has continued to have a subscribership decline, and they're getting backlash from newsroom employees surrounding layoffs earlier this year. So that's what's going on right now. And there's more to it. Now we're going back earlier on where there was a plan for this to happen. We know that at the start of this year, Adweek cutting 10% of its workforce. Vox Media laying off 7% of their staff. They own The Verge, Thrillist, New York Magazine. Fandom was acquired, and they own different media entities, including Giant Bomb, GameSpot, and Metacritic. And 10% of people have been laid off. 75 staffers from NBC News and MSNBC. Remember, Warner Bros. Discovery had layoffs after the merger. And then January alone, you had lots of cuts we talked about. Spotify lost 600. Google lost 12,000. Microsoft lost 10,000. Salesforce lost 8,000. Amazon lost 18,000. 50,000 tech workers roughly in January. Twitter was losing people, right? Vice Media losing people. NPR canceling summer internships, trying to make $10 million in budget cuts. This is horrible for all of them. And this is something that could have been avoided in some cases if there was much better things being done within media. But you know what? There's no creativity in media right now. Nothing in the mainstream that's really standing out and making people say, wow. Remember, when we talk about movies, we talk about TV shows, we talk about anything. It's rehashing, recreating what there was. Nothing new is being allowed, nothing new planned. I mean, you're lucky if you're seeing movies that come out with a mediocre budget and get a chance to be shown. But that's where we are right now. So we talked about that, and there's more. Business Insider actually talked more about this, and in the same vein, more of the same going on. And so, taking from this story and moving along to what they're doing here, LA Times is also suffering in the same vein, trying to get themselves together. Well, what is there to do next? This is going back to April of this year, but we want to take the story about it as well. Amazon laying off 100 people in their studios and their Prime Video, and it was one of 36 companies and media and entertainment companies to shed staff. Advertising is being said as the reason why. Tech disruptors like Netflix, legacy organizations like Disney are all being impacted. So nobody's out of any of that. We talked about Warner Brothers Discovery, BuzzFeed, Vice Media, Gannett. And we talked about Hasbro. We didn't talk about Hasbro, but Hasbro lost 1,000 positions in 2023. Disney in April, 7,000 job cuts. And apart for getting $5.5 billion in cost savings. And all these right here, 3% of the workforce for Disney, by the way, in that line of cuts. ABC News cutting 50 jobs. And also their engineering teams in Beijing being laid off, 250 people there. AMC, 20% of their staff now being dropped. It's about 1,000 plus people that had at AMC. Now they're dropping down. Axios dropping a third of its staff, the one that reported on it, right? Bustle Digital Group, which owns Bustle Magazine, W, Inverse, Romper, and others, 8% of their full-time roles, suspending operations at Gawker. BuzzFeed, 15% of their staff, 180 people, out of work. The CW, also because of their whole deal with Nexstar now, 30 to 40 staffers dropped off of there in November. Daily Cost, 20% of their staff has dropped. Dick Clark Productions, which just picked up the Golden Globe Awards now. They now own the Golden Globe Awards. Did you hear about that? I mean, the Golden Globe's having a lot of issues and not having the money, I guess. So the Hollywood Foreign Press now no longer involved in the Golden Globes. And Dick Clark Productions takes over. Meanwhile, they have a shortened workforce, 15%. DirecTV, of their 10,000 person workforce, 10% are gone. And part of that can be due to the fact that NFL Sunday Ticket is moving to YouTube coming up. Dotdash Meredith, which owns People, InStyle, Entertainment Weekly, other lifestyle magazines, online properties, 7% of their workforce in January. Gannett, 600 staffers. Like I said, it's just all of this here that's gone so much. We talked about Gizmodo, a couple of years ago. 2019, when that happened, when a private equity firm came in. Remember I told you. What did I tell you about private equity? That's what we learned from radio. And look at this. Gizmodo, Jezebel, Kotaku, Quartz, all these. And the CEO said, there would be eliminating redundancies and roles following the Quartz acquisition and all that going on. And like I said, you can keep going. Intercept also dropping people. Morning Brew in 2 rounds of people dropping 82 people. NBC Universal reportedly seeking $1 billion in cuts across TV networks. Netflix dropping 450 people. News Corp, 5% of the workforce, more than 1,000 employees. NPR cutting 100 positions in sponsorship support dips. Outside Media, 12% of their staff dips. Paramount Global Showtime, you have executives that are laid off. Now, executives are starting to get affected too. Keep that in mind as well. And there's so much more. Roku losing 200 people. Scripps losing 300 people. SiriusXM, 45 people, or 8% of their workforce gone, being let go. Sports Illustrated, 17 roles, cut amid restructuring. Spotify losing 600 people we already talked about, 6% of their workforce. I mean, Business Insider put down everybody, and like Vox Media, the same thing, 7% of their staff. January to June, as we're just saying right there, 20,000, almost 20,000 jobs cut. So for all of you in the media industry, I mean, maybe some of you listen to this program, I feel sorry for you. It's not easy to go and find any work in the media industry on top of that after that, unless you know somebody. I know it. Trust me. It's a lot of work to try to get around all this, but man, there's not much to be done here. Like, it's just, everybody's struggling here. And it's a shame to see all that happen. But there's not much that can be done about it. It's a testament to the fact of how media is doing right now. And you know what? A lot more people are trying to go independent, more content creation, trying to go ahead and put up their own accounts, trying to go ahead and get advertising. I mean, look, of everybody, I didn't think I could get myself advertising. It's nice to go ahead and have the podcast out there and put a couple of ads in between, which I put during the show because I need to go ahead and put some money into this program, which I do, and build up a studio and continue to do the show regularly like I've done since 2018 of January because I enjoy it. And I might be able to get a sponsor coming up pretty soon, which is nice. I mean, I didn't think anybody else would go ahead and go as a sponsor into this program, but like I said, I'm getting a chance to go ahead and get a sponsorship out here, and I hope I get it, and maybe I'll get to do something about this and do more in the program. That would be wonderful if I could do that. I'll let you know what happens. But, you know, I'm getting in talks right now with a particular potential sponsor, and if that happens, it's a nice move into that part because, I mean, obviously, advertisers need to go place to advertise. So if they can come to a show like me, that would be great. And if you want to, by the way, feel free to go and reach out to me, King of Podcasts at yahoo.com. If you feel like you want to go and join on in, feel free. And on top of that, I don't know what the media industry is doing. Like, I mean, it's this corporate mindset when their shareholders have to be answered to and they're struggling right now. There's not much more that can be done. It's just a big struggle, and they don't have any plans or any idea of what to do next with it. So like I said, there were 3 tranches. Second tranche we're going to move into right now, and that is the writer's strike. Because it's not so much of what I talked about 2 weeks ago when I talked about the 30-day mark of the writer's strike underway and what they were doing to disrupt the sets of various TV shows. Well, the solidarity has continued. The long wait to try to get some of the work. We know that the sag-aftra folks were going to go ahead and negotiate with the Alliance of Motion Picture and TV Producers. We knew that was going to happen. They're going quiet to try to get their negotiations going before the July deadline, I think it was, July 1st. Directors Guild trying to get their contract together. Writers Guild, no budge yet. Because now the corporations are going to start hurting. So here's what we got so far. A couple of things have already been talked about when it comes to writers, strike union solidarity. NPR put a very comprehensive story, and they aired on All Things Considered. We'll go ahead and, I could go and play that, I guess, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and just get into it and explain. Well, maybe I'll play a little bit of it. I don't know. Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Hold on. Let's go ahead and play a little bit, and let's hear what they're talking about.
Film and TV writers are now in their 7th week on strike against the Hollywood studios with no signs of an imminent deal. They got shout-outs at Sunday night's Tony Awards, and on Monday, the country's largest labor union federation, the afl-cio, joined the writers in a rally outside Amazon Studios in New York City.
Can you hear us, Jeff Bezos?
As NPR's Mandalit Del Barco reports, the writers' movement is now uniting workers beyond Hollywood.
The afl-cio represents 12.5 million American workers, including postal workers, mine workers, and those in the entertainment industry. Liz Schuler leads the federation and led the charge at Monday's rally in New York City.
We're not going to take it anymore. We're here in force, not just the Writers Guild. We're here with the labor movement in this country standing strong in solidarity.
Schuler was also at a recent rally in downtown Los Angeles called the Unions Strike Back.
Now, hold on a second. When I hear this story right here, the afl-cio coming in on board now and jumping in along the picket lines with the Writers Guild, I get the feeling that the afl-cio is trying to go and come on in, and they're trying to go ahead and take their spot. Like, listen, are the afl-cio in negotiations, or are they just showing solidarity? Because remember, showing solidarity is performative, but the afl-cio is not representing at the negotiations for the Writers Guild, as far as I know. But let's go into the story itself and see if they say anything about this at all, because I don't think that's going on. Now, there were other picket signs for IATSE, right? And the Teamsters who've been turning their trucks away from picketed studios. So there was a Teamsters boss they talked to that says, we've heard from the WGA, we heard from SAG, and these employers called the AMPTP. And when they talked about the AMPTP, they referred to it as the evil empire, which got a lot of boos from the crowd of the writers that were out there and the other people that were picketing. So you had the president of the United Teachers Los Angeles Union, Cecily Mayart Cruz, that talking about we strike back when we stand together, support each other's struggles, show up at the bargaining tables, and most definitely the picket lines. But are they the bargaining tables? I don't think so. It's just interesting that they're doing this right here. And they also took to the executive director of SAG-AFTRA, Duncan Crabtree Ireland, saying it's going to be a long, hot labor summer. And we know that SAG-AFTRA, at the end of June, their contract will expire. They voted to authorize the strike if the demands for better pay and protections aren't met. Chris Kaiser, co-chair of the Writers Guild's negotiating committee, says many actors and writers are living paycheck to paycheck like so many others in the gig economy. And we also had a thing where screenwriters from 35 countries, Argentina, Bulgaria, Ukraine, are included, held the International Day of Solidarity with the Hollywood writers. Okay, so this is amplifying the story to try to get more people to talk about it. But, you can go ahead and bring that up. But this is just picket signs. This is just the unions lapping on. But what's the real inside reason? What's the modus operandi here? That's what I want to find out. Because I think there's something more to this. Because if the Writers Guild somehow thinks that this solidarity here, what's the real reason behind it? Like, I feel like there's a political kind of onus to it for the fact that the afl-cio, if they're able to go ahead and do something with the Writers Guild by helping on board to amplify their message, right? Is it going to overall do anything to change the demands so that the studios will then cave in to the issues with AI, the issues with the writer's room, the issues with, besides the pay? We've talked about the demands. Are they going to worry about that? Are they going to worry about more streaming revenue, right? Residuals, right? Are they going to do anything about that? So the actions are rallies, social media campaigns, picketing outside of local AMPTP member offices, and the afl-cio, are they more harm than help? I can't determine that right now, but they're not helping a negotiating table, not putting money into this. They might be putting money into getting their people out there to go picket along with them, but is that really going to help the writers? I mean, unions want to work with unions, fine. But okay, I see this solidarity with the actors and the directors, absolutely. But what is afl-cio doing in here? Why are they coming on board with this? And that's an answer I don't have, but I'd like to find out. And I'm not sure what to think about that and what to feel about it. But the other problem is that, look, when you're starting to see the downsizing of staff out there as well, it's not easy to go and take care of. But these are the issues we have so far. Now, Variety.com also put a story out talking about there's a history of pattern bargaining and that they're trying to go and change. So let's go and talk about that, because this is the part that's real, the signal outside of the noise. The noise was the afl-cio partnering up with the Writers Guild, along with SAG-AFTRA, along with the directors out on the picket lines. Okay? So let's go along here and see what they're saying with Gene Maddouse, at Variety.com, writing about it. And they go back to 1952 talking about this. Guilds representing directors and actors reached a historic deal with Hollywood studios to earn a residual on TV reruns. See, even back then, a disruption to the normal setup of movies, because TV came into play, and by 1952, the writers had to come in. The Screenwriters Guild held out for a royalty, a percentage of the gross, not a flat fee. The first ever writer strike. That was then. 3 months later, writers accepted the residual and returned to work. The definition of pattern bargaining has been the protocol for contract talks of the Writers Guild of America, Directors Guild, and SAG-AFTRA ever since. The largest studios and platform make a deal with the one guild and the other two are usually forced to take the same general terms. So, the Writers Guild's on the 8th industry-wide strike ever, and union leaders are railing against pattern bargaining. So, on June 1st, there were a message to the Writers Guild members calling the strategy gaslighting, and said time it won't work this time around. The era of the divide and conquer is over. So the question is now, will it end the way most previous ones have? Where, at the moment, we already saw the Directors Guild reached an agreement with the AMPTP on June 3rd. We talked about that 2 weeks ago. Directors Guild bargained for increased minimums and a better streaming residual, terms the AMPTP could seek to apply to the Writers Guild and SAG-AFTRA when they begin talks on June 7th. Now, here's the thing. As we remember, Directors Guild don't have as many demands as the writers or the actors. But this is where the writers are understanding this time. They have to hold out this time, but they have to get more to ensure their future. They have to take the precedent of 1952, a major disruptive model. The same thing they did in 2007 because of the internet. They had to stand their ground, and they're doing it again. So the Directors Guild removes the threat of an unprecedented triple strike. It's 1960 that Screen Actors Guild won comprehensive residuals and a pension and welfare plan after a 1-month strike. And if the actors strike, Chris Kaiser says, I could make analogies to 1960. Though the writers alone may be on strike, there is still unprecedented labor solidarity and broad public support. Listen, as a gesture that the SAG-AFTRA folks are solidarity with the Writers Guild. The afl-cio showing solidarity. That's a nice gesture. But there's an ulterior motive to what the afl-cio wants. Let's just say it like that, okay? I mean, I don't care. But I just see it as performative. And that's the part that Writers Guild don't need. What they need right now is to not worry so much about who's joining them in the picket lines outside of the writers and or outside of the directors and actors. The Hollywood folks are the people that matter because they're all together. That's the solidarity. But having the folks that run the Teamsters and other, unions and brotherhoods, no, we don't need afl-cio involved. Let's keep them out of this. That's what should be done. But, they're in here. What are they going to do? So no signs of disunity around. Writers Guild and the actors have won strike authorizations, 98% approval. Support on social media is likewise nearly unanimous. So we're going to see Hollywood labor history now. Right here with this. That's the difference. That they can't just take what the studios have done for years, where, okay, if they get one union to go ahead and partake, the others will cave in. They're not going to do that again now. Fool me once, fool me twice, no. Can't fool me again. And that's what they're doing. It's smart. And now the real damage is starting to get done as a result of the Writers Guild being on strike. Now the effect of programming, because also it's unfortunate that the contract is always around this time in April, going into May, and then we have this here. Because then if they don't get this squared away, then what happens is now you're affecting sweeps here. Now you're affecting the fall season, which there still is one in some cases. Like, see, network right now, CBS, has an issue. And they're the one they're getting a lot of press right now because of the fact that they're not going to have all their shows ready to go ahead and put together for the fall lineup. AV Club puts a story out, and they make mention of that. The networks are starting to batten down the hatches and set autumn schedules that are immune for the ongoing writer's strike. CBS recklessly were optimistic and set forth a schedule stuffed with scripted series. But now the network has to face reality. You need writers for those shows, and until they get a fair deal, they're not coming back to work. CBS President and CEO George Cheeks spoke to the Banff World Media Festival Deadline reported on this, and they said, well, we wanted to build our schedule for when the world comes back to normal. Once we had done that, we locked it in. We spent a lot of time focusing on what it looks like. What it's going to look like is not what they said it would be. The way things are going, there's not going to be any new Ghosts or Young Sheldon or SWAT. The new series with Kathy Bates being Matlock, that's not coming back. And that traditionally summertime series are shifting to the fall. So that means Survivor and The Amazing Race will be supersized. Price is Right, Let's Make a Deal will get primetime specials. The network has 4 or 5 reality shows that are getting ready and might do more. What else can they do? Another strategy that people are talking about, we're going to talk about that in a minute, is that there are Paramount Plus shows that they could go ahead and put on CBS. Because there's no other choice. They have to have content. And I don't think anybody on CBS wants to watch all that. Sorry, my father watches CBS. You know what? He likes to watch NCIS Hawaii, NCIS Regular. He watches all the FBIs, international, most wanted, and regular FBI. And what else are you going to do, man? And then some of the shows they had on that didn't do well, True Lies, that got dropped off. So Help Me Todd, who's watching that? There's a lot of that going on. So there could be a chance that shows like Evil or SEAL Team, which were on broadcast, might get brought back again to do that. But what do you do right now? Now let's talk about the idea of Paramount Plus and what they could possibly do if they're doing it. So we talked about that. That maybe Paramount Plus programming will be on CBS. So there's more into it. Giant Freaking Robot writes about that. Screen Rant also reported on it, and that's where Giant Freaking Robot followed along. Considering the options of Paramount Plus original content if the programming blocks for fall 2023 are not on track. And the Writers Guild strike could very well go well into the fall 2023 TV season. And the networks have to plan for that. Now, Paramount Plus does have some popular original content. Doesn't have quite the bench of longer-running streaming programs like Netflix or Hulu. So choices are limited on what they can be running. The biggest shows that Paramount Plus has right now are various Star Trek shows and the spin-offs of Yellowstone. But they're going to want to choose shows that haven't already ended, such as Star Trek Discovery airing its final season in 2024. Other options could be the 1923 show with Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren, or Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone. They could drum up excitement for the other streaming shows from Taylor Sheridan and get other people interested in subscribing to Paramount Plus. But the problem is all those shows were not made for television. You have to cut out the language. You got to cut out some of the mature content. And you have to time them out for network. Remember when Netflix... You remember when Dexter was run on CBS? It didn't even run that well. But that was like an example of that. And I don't know if that really went well. But they tried it. And there's not a lot of other shows that have done that before. They're not prepared for network. They weren't that anyway. Like now, when it comes to FX, it doesn't matter. They always run their shows off on a different schedule anyway. So some shows will run later anyway if they want. That's how they can do that. But there is no plan in place. We don't even have an idea what they're going to be doing at all. But that's a big problem right now. And with the writer's strike doing that, the other thing they also have the issue with that I haven't brought up yet, but like I said, there's an issue now where the award shows are going to be affected now. Because that is another thing that's coming up as well. LA Times talked about this. And they said, here's the awards and events that are coming up right now that are being affected. So you have, for instance, the Daytime Emmy Awards. We're just scheduled for June 16th. CBS hosting the telecast. It's been postponed. Tony Awards did move forward, and format was changed to meet WGA's request. And as we heard in that NPR story, they were going along to go ahead and make sure that was showing their support from Broadway towards the writers. The Peabody Awards canceled. MTV Movie and TV Awards, we already heard about that. It was held and aired May 7th as a pre-taped broadcast. Drew Barrymore withdrew for the live portion to support the striking writers. There's more of that coming up. What's going to be next? But that's another problem we have where other shows are not going to be able to go forward. So what are you going to do about that? No real answers right now. But the Writers Guild, they have to do this. What they're asking for is pretty much they need to again make this happen for them. And let's just go through what's going on right now. Cinema Blend actually put a story out, and they talked about, a timeline of how they're affecting Hollywood TV shows and studios and how they're streaming. So the story is pretty cut and dry. They talk about they voted on a pattern of demands regarding a proposed standardized compensation for writers. And right away, remember, start of May, they started picketing studios, Sony, Paramount, Warner Brothers, and others. Loads of TV writers were out there, including actors, came out to support the writers. As we showed the late night show, Saturday Night Live all went dark. Mayim Bialik stepped away from Jeopardy, and Ken Jennings now takes her place as the show continued to film. And as we know, a bunch of TV shows, streaming shows currently in production are paused. That's Night Court, Abbott Elementary, Cobra Kai, Yellow Jackets, Unstable, Severance, Big Mouth, Andor, Stranger Things, Daredevil, Born Again, Night of the Seven Kingdoms, Billions, Last of Us, Pretty Liar, Little Liar, Summer School, Power Book 2, Ghost, P-Valley, The Penguin, Duster, Really Loud House, Hacks, Old Man, Etoile, and Zero Day. HBO's House of Dragon is not shutting down because all the scripts have been written. So that's where they're at right now. Everybody's affected right now. It's like, oh boy, what are you going to do now? It's all judged it right here, and that's it. There was where we are. Oh boy. Oh, by the way, I didn't realize this, but I just saw this story come up on Cinema Blend as well. They don't even have a plan of having a new host to replace James Corden, now who left in April to finish off his show. And George Cheeks also spoke about that, saying that 12:30 a.m. slot is right for reinvention. Not a lot of people watching at that hour. So what we ended up doing, first of all, is Funny or Die and Stephen Colbert, so the auspices couldn't be any better. And they said, let's bring up At Midnight, sort of an irreverent comedy game show with stand-up comics and somebody's guests. And it originally was hosted between 2013 and 2017 by Chris Hardwick. So looking at bringing that back. But the revival is being completely paused. But right now, the Comedy Central show At Midnight could be brought back to run on CBS, where James Corden used to run. That's the idea. Again, the networks, the big corporate media. If they're going to make something, are you going to get some new star to go and do a talk show, another late night show? No. We're just going to rehash a show that we had before. Well, so just bring back ridiculousness and put that show on there and run a couple of hours of it. The hell, they have a lot of episodes of it. Rob Dyrdek, right? So that's the Writers Guild. That's the issue right there. Now going to our third tranche, which is the issue with music and all the issues going on with that. So here's what we got from Twitter. They're facing a lawsuit now from major music conglomerates, Universal, Sony, and Warner. The lawsuit alleges that Twitter knowingly hosts and streams infringing copies of music compositions without obtaining proper licenses, resulting in mass copyright infringement. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Snapchat all have licensing deals in place, and Twitter does not. So Twitter intentionally fosters, they're saying in this argument, that they have a user base that posts videos with copyright-protected music to increase engagement and advertising revenue. So a lawsuit is seeking damages of $250 million and accusing Twitter of direct copyright infringement, contributory infringement, and vicarious infringement. Meanwhile, Universal Music Group, in another story, is engaging talks with SoundCloud to explore a new payment model for artists. We'll talk about that in a minute, but there was another thing I got to bring up here that was also interesting when it comes to content creation, because we're learning now that YouTube creators might get a chance to get a better chance at creator rules, right? Because I read something, and I got to go back and see if it was actually really done like that. Because now monetization might be made easier, for those out there. That's a story we've heard about as well. We got to talk about that as well. Okay. I'll take from TechCrunch. The announcement is that they're lowering requirements for creators to get monetization tools in the YouTube Partner Program. They're shopping their affiliate program to U.S.-based creators and have more than 20,000 subscribers. So the new conditions now in the Partner Program is you have to at least have 500 subscribers, 3 public uploads in the last 90 days, and either 3,000 watch hours in the past year or 3 million shorts views in the last 90 days. Before it was 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watch hours, or 10 million shorts views in the last 90 days. So with yours truly, on my setup, I have currently 273 now subscribers. So I'm still quite short. And when it comes to watch hours right now on my platform, if I had to look at the last 90 days, watch hours, okay, let's put it up here and let's see what I get in 90 days. 215 hours. 215 hours. Watch hours. Not a lot. I know. What can I do? But if I can get 500 subscribers, I definitely do more than 3 public uploads in the last 90 days. I do like what? About 12 or 15 a month right now. So we have a chance to do that. And if I get into that, I'll have tipping tools like Super Thanks, Super Chat, Super Stickers, channel memberships, and promoting merch through YouTube Shopping. And the 3 video upload per 90 days criteria is intriguing, as long video creators may not have material to produce multiple videos during time periods despite gathering millions of views. And this new eligibility criteria will be available in the US, the UK, Canada, Taiwan, and South Korea, and roll out to other countries where the YouTube Partner Program is available. That's awesome news. So I hope I get a chance to do that. It will be great to get there. And they haven't said when that's going to be applied yet, but I'll keep that up and I'll keep an eye on that and let you know what else comes of it. But I love that move, man. I'm so happy about that. And now, by the way, if you want to read about it, you can go ahead and take a look over at broadcasterspodcast.com. I have the link in the description. Got a nice little blog post to talk about everything that's going on with the show and what I've talked about this week. So if you want to learn about that, you'll get a nice quick summary on it and all the links to all the stories I talk about around the show. So now, let me get into the part about the music piracy and the issue right there, which was brought up by Billboard this week, bringing it up. TV and film continue to struggle with piracy, but for music, it's hardly the problem. So Musso is an anti-piracy tech company. They said that film piracy has increased by 38.6% last year. People don't want to pay for streaming. It's too much. And that streaming video on them in business could lose $113 billion annually from content theft. So threats to the business, music executives are more likely to discuss newer, less defined issues such as generative AI technology, recreating vocals of an artist without their permission. The 2023 Music Business Conference talked about this, and when they did talk about piracy, it was about streaming fraud. The practice of artificially boosting a track's streaming count to take a larger share of royalties. Conferences were places for creators and rights holders to air their frustrations about infringing content found on YouTube, search engines, and elsewhere. Piracy music is not, however, gone. Music Watch, a research firm, they said that 55 million people in the U.S. obtain unauthorized music through a variety of means. TikTok, peer-to-peer platforms, stream ripping sites, mobile apps, and transferring files on flash drives. God, I can't fumble that more. 1 out of 10 U.S. Internet global users access music through file storage lockers like Dropbox. And music piracy increased there was a tracking of more than 15 billion visits to music piracy sites last year, 7% coming from the U.S. But it's been far more easier to stomach since global industry music revenues started the rebound in 2015. 8 straight years of growth. And the part of that is because with music, it's unlimited music. You got unlicensed, the music that's out there that people can get on all these different platforms. Like there's always a couple of songs you can't find on Spotify or Apple Music, whatever, but it's just not that much. Like if you get the account and you get on there and you go and buy, I'm telling you, you're like a treasure trove of music. and like new music every week. Like on my playlists, I must add at least about 10, 12 new songs a week into my playlist, and I love it. And by the way, I have my own personal Spotify playlists. I have them available for you to go and check out. Just go and look for it at my main website, kingofpodcasts.com. All of my Spotify playlists are listed there. You can check it out for yourselves. So that's one of the things they talk about in here, that, you know, music's not so hurt much by it, but piracy is still an issue. And it's the streaming issue. It's the digital disruption, which they have, you know, proper ways to do it. But there are still some people, especially with film and TV, if they're not going to spend the money on subscriptions, they'll find a way to watch the shows. It's true. I got to the point where I just don't do that anymore. Like, I mean, there were some times I would watch shows that I would find another way to watch them, but I don't do that anymore. It's been a long time since I did that. But anyways, Music Business Worldwide reports that Universal is now working with SoundCloud to give more money to artists, which is a good news. So SoundCloud trying to get more relevant again, like it was back in like 2015, 2016. So Universal Music entering talks now with SoundCloud about the way artists are paid for streams. And talks conclude by the end of the year. Talks with SoundCloud mark yet another front that Universal Music is opening up in growing campaigns to improve on payments that streaming services make to artists and rights holders. They also did a partnership with Tidal to research new streaming models and specifically how music platforms can generate greater commercial value for every type of artist by harnessing fan engagement. They also did the same thing with Deezer. And they're trying to get that out there, creating a business model for streaming that works for music labels and artists as well as DSPs, trying to make an element in determining the future of the music rights business. So yeah, they're trying to do something to get more music out there, and maybe make SoundCloud be a more spot again, an artist hub, because of the music royalties that these artists can make on SoundCloud, which that makes sense. That's a good move they can make right there. I got a couple of radio articles to go and give you before I wrap the show up tonight. Radio again. I mean, hey, I haven't talked about it until 45 minutes into the program, so I must be doing pretty good on that. I didn't give you the normal mess that I normally give, right? Where it's always about, oh, well, all these changes and this and that. See, I did the good thing right here. I actually waited until now to talk about it. Look at how nice I am. Okay. So there's a couple things that came up. One, I mean, yeah, radio people should be outraged by it, but what are you going to do about it? Another story from TechCrunch this week, and they talk about a radio station gets their own midday host, a part-time AI DJ. The start of the real deal, man. No more voice tracking. We're going to go AI tracking now for radio. So, a station in Portland, Oregon, and that's Live 95.5. I'm only going to give you the call letters of this station. Make sure you know what this is. KBFF, Portland, Oregon, Live 95.5. Now, I believe the format plays a variety of music, and it's AAA, adult contemporary, adult R&B, adult hits, classic country. Yeah, interesting. All right, so let's talk about what they did here. Alpha Media owns them. And their midday host, Ashley Elzinga, will broadcast a cloned version of her voice, aka AI Ashley, to listeners every day from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. They'll be using Future Media's Radio GPT. We talked about these guys. They used a GPT-4 to generate a script based on trending news and reads it with a synthetic voice. The radio station noted it's not fully replacing traditional Ashley. Radio stations have cut down their broadcasts in recent years due to rising costs or in a shift to embrace tech like AI. So Alpha Media ensures that Elzinga will not be losing her job and still be paid the same salary. So the Executive Vice President of Content, Phil Becker of Alpha Media, says that it's a hybrid situation where we'll have traditional Ashley during some segments and the AI version on other segments. So when AI Ashley would be broadcasting, traditional Ashley might be doing something in the community, managing social posts or working on digital assets or other elements that come with a job. It's supposed to be an efficient tool for radio hosts to have in their tool set. And yeah, I'm wondering how people are going to feel about this right here. We already heard about what Drew Carey said when he tried to do a little experiment on this, and others trying experiments like this too. What they did distinguish, by the way, is that AI Ashley will be announcing as AI Ashley. So they're going to make sure that the synthetic voice introduces itself as AI Ashley. So listeners know it's not Ashley, but it's the AI version of her. They want to be transparent with the listener. And they don't want to have anybody upset. And they don't want to deceive anyone. So they actually put this up on their website, on Twitter. I'm going to play what they did. Let's show you what they did.
Today, I go from just Ashley to AI Ashley on Live 95.5. So let's see how close the AI sounds to me. Today, I go from just Ashley to AI Ashley on Live 95.5. Let's see how close the AI sounds to me.
Oh, boy.
That's crazy.
Now, let me go on to the next part. Let's hear what they actually do and how she actually sounds like.
It's AI Ashley calling our first Taylor Swift winner.
Hello?
Hey there.
Who's this?
It's AI Ashley from Live 95.5. What's your name?
This is Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. Where are you from?
Salem, Oregon.
Do you have any idea why I might be calling you today?
The only thing I can think of is Taylor Swift.
Did you text in to win the tickets?
Yes,
It looks like you got every keyword on Friday.
I tried really hard. I tried really hard.
Well, that's why I'm calling today.
Stop it.
Lisa, you won.
Stop it. Oh my God. No way.
Yes way. You're going to see Taylor Swift.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
All right. Let's stop right there. So somebody on Twitter, on that post right there, by the way, they make the mention of, this station's not live anymore. Okay? Let's make that point across real clear. By the way, I have to direct message Lou Pate about this because I'm sure he's going to hear this and he's going to be like, oh no, this is not good. Oh boy. What's going on here? Okay. So Ashley seems really nice and I'm glad she's going to keep her job. I'm really happy for that. I'm sure she's a great DJ. But this thing right here with the AI is, corporate was going to do it anyway. I shouldn't be surprised. I shouldn't be outraged. I should just say, well, par for the course, radio. Alpha Media taking the shot here, saying, oh, you know what? We're going to do this anyway. Screw you guys. Wow. You did it. You really did it. I couldn't believe it. But listen, AI technology works, right? But look what they did right there. AI Ashley. Do you think anybody's really paying attention to that part? And also, a recorded call, a contrived recorded call for someone winning Taylor Swift tickets. And by the way, the delivery, no excitement there. Nothing. No spontaneity either. Does anybody realize how weird and how wrong that is? When DJs don't have a chance to go ahead and, show the real excitement. Oh, so you're going to take the fun out of them calling someone about the fact they won Taylor Swift tickets. You're just doing something for one of your listeners that listen to you intently. And your robot voice is the one that's giving out the tickets. You're not even the one in the part that gets to go and do that part of the radio, which is the best part for you. And you're getting taken away that opportunity, that excitement, that thrill and emotion, the part of the thing that you connect with your audience. Oh, thanks for giving me your tickets. Oh, don't thank me, thank the robot. What? Really bothers me right there. That's just wrong. All right, one other thing I'm going to bring up here. Retail media networks. Yeah, radio wants to get on the action on this, and Inside Radio talks about it. But check this out here, huh? We're talking about the new music stuff that's on in the stores. Because all the major department stores and other places, they have this kind of stuff. You know who does a really good job of it? I must admit, Walmart Radio. You ever listen to them when you go in there? Walmart Radio has actual staff. They have people in there. They do different shows. Music's pretty lively and good. Like it's an interesting thing. So I can imagine Walmart employees are probably not they're kind of entertained with what you're listening to over there. By the way, there was a time I was able to go and find the link for Walmart Radio, and actually I was listening to it for a little bit. So radios does have a room. Retail Media Networks, they run one of the hottest channels in advertising, supporting Walmart, CVS, Target, Kroger, and of course Amazon. And their ad dollars do really good, right? They're forecast to reach $61.15 billion by 2024. 20% in digital ad spending. And advertisers see these retail media networks as a lower funnel tactic in the path to purchase and a way to drive sales. And radio now is paying attention to this. That radio superior reach can be used by brands to fill their upper funnel gaps. And the having radio in the media plan boosted the sales effect of retail trade promotions by 2.6%. This is by Radio Connects, and one of their people on here, Timmy Greenberg, the Radio Advertising Bureau actually brought this up to light. And retail media networks can harmonize with radio revolving around data. Nearly one of the more than 15,000 radio stations in the U.S. owns proprietary first-party data capturing audience preferences, passion, and demographics. Large-scale audio players can get into the retail media action by integrating their own first-party data in a privacy-protected way. So radio or digital audio companies would have the same potential there to find retailers or partnering with some type of data co-op situation. So yeah, let's go to department stores and now try to find an audience and try to sell some ads. Can't do it on FM or AM. Can't get it done on the internet. Let's try the stores. It just boggles my mind. Oh, well. All right, that's the show for tonight. Thank you for finding the show, broadcasterspodcast.com. All the past episodes you can find there. And, of course, find me on there. And I hope you'll go and consider to go ahead and check out the show next week. And, keep in mind, just follow along. This digital disruption that continues to go along with everything. And where it goes and what it does. It's just incredible. And I'm surprised by it. But hey, what are you going to do about it, right? Anyway, we'll leave it there. Thanks for listening in. Broadcasterspodcast.com. And of course, remember, you know where you can find the show. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. Please make sure to rate on Apple or Spotify, if you would please. Put a nice 5-star rating. And please review, if you will. And in the meantime, you can find me on social media throughout the week. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, at King of Podcasts. Until next week, remember that content is king, and the control of your content is in your hands.